Imagine a conflict that does not need a shared border to cross borders. A drone launches in one place. A cabinet meets in another. Oil traders react somewhere else. And governments thousands of miles away suddenly have to choose their words carefully. That is the strange gravity of Iran and Israel. The story is not as simple as religion, revenge, or one headline. It is a pressure system, and once it starts moving, the first mistake is to call this an ancient hatred story. The modern rupture is much newer. Iran and Israel once had quiet strategic ties under the Shah. After Iran's 1979 revolution, Israel became part of the Islamic Republic's revolutionary enemy language, and the United States became the other pole of that story. Religion gives symbols emotional force, but the machine today is modern: state survival, deterrence, sanctions, armed partners, energy. Look at the map. Iran and Israel do not touch. That distance matters, because pressure has to travel through airspace, sea lanes, bases, allies, and neighboring states. Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, the Gulf, and the Mediterranean are not background decoration. They are the corridors and pressure zones that make a two-country confrontation difficult to keep contained. When the map is networked, even a limited move. The second layer is fear. Israel looks at missiles, drones, armed groups, and nuclear uncertainty and sees an existential security problem. Iran looks at sanctions, foreign forces, air defenses, and past attacks and sees a regime survival problem. Each side wants to signal strength so the next strike does not come. But a signal meant as defense can look like preparation for escalation. That is the fear loop: strike, reply, reassure, prepare, and then outside powers enter because the conflict is already connected to them. The United States is Israel's key security backer and also has forces, bases, ships, and air defense responsibilities across the region. Gulf states may not want a wider war, but their airspace, ports, energy infrastructure, and U.S. military relationships make neutrality complicated. Even when governments say they are trying to prevent escalation, the act of defending, resupplying, or deterring. The third layer is the regional network. Iran supports armed groups across the Middle East, including Hezbollah, but support is not the same as remote control over every trigger. Hezbollah is also a Lebanese political and military actor, while Lebanon itself is a fragile state with civilians, an army, parties, and economic pressure of its own. That distinction matters. If you compress an entire country into one armed group, you lose the real. Then there is Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow shipping choke point between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says flows through it in 2024 and early 2025 made up more than 1/4 of global seaborne oil trade, about 1/5 of global oil and petroleum product consumption, and around 1/5 of global LNG trade. That is why a regional security crisis can become a fuel price, insurance, shipping. Religion, culture, and historical memory still matter, but not as a shortcut explanation. Sacred geography, Jewish historical trauma, Islamic revolutionary language, Persian national identity, and Palestinian solidarity all shape what leaders can say in public. They create emotional voltage. But governments still make choices through security institutions, budgets, alliances, sanctions, voters, factions, and regime legitimacy. The danger is that symbolic language can. Recent reporting has made the system visible again: strikes, retaliatory fire, military targets, Gulf states, negotiations, and oil markets all in the same week of headlines. But the deeper lesson is not that every headline means world war. It is that the region is wired so tightly that a military move, a nuclear inspection dispute, a shipping disruption, and a diplomatic message can all become one story. That is how local escalations. So the reason Iran and Israel keep pulling everyone in is not one ancient argument or one modern headline. It is the map, the alliances, the fear of looking weak, the symbols people live inside, and the global systems connected to the region. The hard part is that every side says it is trying to prevent the next escalation, while the network keeps becoming easier to trigger. The real question is not only who wins a round. It is who can make stepping back look survivable.